Hi, I'm Jill, Chief Safety Officer with Vivid Learning Systems. I'm a former OSHA inspector, and I'm here to help you identify and correct workplace safety hazards. For this series, we're at the University of Louisville in beautiful Kentucky to show you no matter where you work, safety is for everyone. When was the last time you interacted with a robot? For me, it was the last time I was in an automatic car wash. For a friend of mine, it was when her husband had a robotic-assisted heart surgery. Robots are all around us, we just don't often think about them. We have robotic welders and cutters. We have robots that are picking things and assembling items. They're everywhere and part of our life now. And today we're at the University of Louisville at their library with their robotic book retrieval system. And with me today I have Alice Abbott-Moore, who is the Robotic Retrieval System Supervisor. That sounds like a pretty important title, Alice. Can you tell us a little bit about this system that you have here and what makes this library so unique in North America?
Well, I thank you for being here today, Jill. We developed the New Wing group back in 2002. And it was in response that we became an American Research Library. And as a result of that, we had to add 50 to 60,000 new books every year. Well, the older part of the library, if you walk through, it was just jammed upstairs, third and fourth floor, packed to the gills. And we had students studying in the stairwell because we took away a lot of their comfortable studying space to accommodate shelving. Well, it's a great honor. That's one of the highest honors you can be in the American Research Library world. And so anyway, our previous dean, Hannah Rader, had seen a robotic system in one of her many travels. She was a huge proponent of information literacy. And with that in mind, when she saw one of these, she came back to us and said, we have a solution. Here's a possibility. We looked at compact shelving. The university, former part of the library, we could not find the amount of space needed for that, plus we have sub-basements, so we couldn't excavate to do any compact shelving in that part. So we chose a robotic system. With that in mind, we looked at, it's easier for our patrons to access materials, and it's a faster turnaround as opposed to remote storage, which is popular in a lot of library systems. When the University of Louisville was, begun, we had no idea we would be this big today. So as a result, we could not really build out, but we built up. So we have an 8,000 square foot room here, and it's 3 stories. We have a basement or lower level here, one with us, one above us. And with that in mind, we have 7,052 bins, and we can hold up to about 600,000 items.
So each of these metal bins has books and other pieces of material in them.
That's correct.
Wow.
We have books, journals, microfilm, microforms, CD-ROMs, VHSs, older tech. We have oversized books. That was a great thing to get in here because I thought they were a danger upstairs on the 3rd and 4th floor from our patrons pulling them off the shelves. We have government documents because we're a depository here. So we have a mixture of items in here. Items are stored by scanning barcodes in, so everything has to be scanned in and scanned out. And right now, we probably have, I want to guess, about 450,000 items in here, give or take. We're going through weeding, and we also put things in, so it's a constant flux.
So it's the robot's job to go and find the right bin for the piece of material that someone wants and to bring it back here to this area called the picking station, where people from the library will actually take the document to be able to give to the patron who's asking for it, correct?
That is correct.
All right. And so robots come in lots of different sizes and configurations, and I believe this type of robot is called a gantry robot based on the way that it operates. And they do lots of different movements. Can you describe the movement that this robot makes to be able to do its work?
Well, this particular crane right here has 2 motors. One goes up and one goes to the side, so it vertical and then horizontal. So it moves in almost like a grid-like situation. There's a track on the very bottom of the floor, and there's also a track upstairs up on the very top rail. With that in mind, it runs back and forth and up and down.
Okay. Okay. And then it pulls the bins out.
Yeah, it has these two fingers here on either side, and we call them fingers, and they on these chains, and they pull the L brackets off of each bin onto the carriage.
Great. And so there's a term that's often used with robotics, and it's called the robotics cell. And when you're in the robotics cell, there's an opportunity for hazards there. So what kind of hazards does this robotics cell pose?
Well, one is, crushing. As soon as you come in this room, this is a robotics cell for our situation here. So you could have crushing, you have electrical, you have other hazards there as well.
And so robots can move without notice because they get essentially programmed by whoever is asking for, in this case, some product that they want to get out of the library. And so they're kind of programming the robot, if you will, to make a movement to do a pick. So robots are known to move without notice. That's what a robot does. What sort of safety feature does this robot have to ensure if something's going wrong that we can stop that robot?
One, I'm really particular of who comes in here.
Sure.
Okay, I try to train the faculty, staff, and students who happen to work in here, and so we're all trained. But also, it is an open system here. We have e-stops here on each aisle on the left side.
Okay.
So that's our safety feature here on that. And then also to be mindful and be cognizant, as well as being have your ears and your eyes open.
Right. So what about energy sources? What sort of energy sources would we take into consideration with a lockout of this particular robot? What energy sources does it have?
This system has two sources, multiple electrical ways, as well as gravity.
Okay, thank you. So one thing I would like people to be mindful of, there is a requirement that says anytime you have a piece of equipment that has more than one energy source, that you have written lockout tagout procedures for each piece of equipment. And so for this particular situation, it would be for both robots that you would have a written step-by-step procedure for both of them, identifying all the energy sources, which includes those multiple electrical sources that Alice was talking about, as well as the fact that it has gravity. And people often forget that gravity is really an energy source. And so if you think about it, when this robot is at its highest point on the 3rd floor, that's a long way for something to fall should there be a failure. And so part of the lockout tagout procedure with this would be noting how we're going to contain that energy source as well, which would mean bringing it down to its ground floor so it doesn't have an opportunity to fall. And so with regard to the lockout tagout procedures, all of those individual electrical sources, we'd want to find where it originated, where its electricity originated, and note that as the point for locking out the energy source so that there's no way possible it could ever start up accidentally or without notice. And so that means more than turning something off at a computer station. It means going back to that original knife switch, that original breaker panel, and applying the lock at that point. And then every year to update that written lockout tagout procedure to make sure nothing has changed. If there's been an additional feature added to a component, or maybe you have something new in the facility, to make sure that hasn't added an energy source or something that we weren't thinking of before. And so write your lockout tagout procedures for each piece of equipment, review them annually, and always train your employees on exactly how to do a proper lockout tagout procedure and identify who is authorized to do that lockout tagout procedure. Alice, thank you so much for sharing this really unique system with us. Appreciate your time today.
Oh, thank you, Jill, because you've taught me some. Thank you.
Great. I hope you gained a safety skill today. If you know someone who needs this, go ahead and pass it on. Safety is everyone's business.